bet most of you know Sam Raimi very well from Evil Dead, personal favorite of mine, produced Time Cop, Hercules The Legendary Journeys, Xena Warrior Princess, the hammy Cleopatra 2525, and Jack of all trades, probably best known for the original Spider-Man films, and Raimi really loves his comic books. It's why I gave Spider-Man a chance. But before that, even before Hercules, Raimi and his friend Sam Hamm, who wrote Batman and Batman Returns, created a series called Mantis, Mechanically Augmented Neurotransmitter Interception System, a vigilante hero. Picture mixing a bit of Batman, nuggets of Spider-Man, and things here and there from Iron Man. Smoosh, and you get Dr. Miles Hawkins, a brilliant scientist who invented all kinds of different forms of technology ranging from holograms to hover cars. And in 7 years, he'll become the voice of Martian Manhunter. Miles is very strong-willed. He can get on your nerves. Sometimes he has a stick up his butt. He means well, but he keeps that guard up. The series originally started off as a TV movie, so certain things were tweaked between the movie and the show. So I'll break down the differences between the two versions. In the film, the setting was in Oceana City, where it suffered from corrupt police and cover-ups. Miles was caught in a devastating riot shooting. He tried to save a little girl when a cop shot him in the back, permanently paralyzing him. He tried to sue the city after he found evidence of this conspiracy. It didn't pan out. Miles was already a strict, standoffish man. When he lost his ability to walk, he lost trust in the city. So Hawkins decided to do things himself. With the help of two students he trusted, Miles created the original Mantis suit. It was intended to solve his paralysis. The exoskeleton allowed him to bypass his spinal cord, connecting the rest of his body to his brain. As a bonus, the suit gave him super strength, allowing him to be very agile. He could jump by, say, a 5-story building with no problem. This gave him the idea to modify the suit so he could become a vigilante, stopping criminals his way. Miles then created an underground base called the Sea Pod, which links to the outside ocean. So for a few years, the suit was upgraded and then given defenses. He doesn't kill. His main go-to weapon is his paralyzed dart. When hit, it sends an electrical charge through the target, slowing and eventually freezing them in place. Other suit abilities come in the form of hypnotizing people, which was dropped when they went to the series, and an electric defense system. When something comes into contact with the suit, they'd get shocked. The suit did have two major design flaws. It is bulletproof, but if too many shots are done, the suit will get hit and lose power, disabling Miles. A second issue that developed is when Miles is knocked out. The suit has an automatic mode that acts almost like a second personality, which can take over his body, working under self-preservation rules. The suit can be used by anyone, but at the risk of frying their brain, since it was intended to be used with a non-functioning spine. For his transportation, the Mantis drives his special hover car called the Chrysalis, a all-purpose vehicle, car, jet, and submarine. In the movie, it also has a camouflage hollow system to disguise the car while driving on the ground. The look of the Mantis is simple compared to lots of other superhero suits. The main body is an insulated black muscle suit with the exo cabling that runs across his body, connected at the top with his head visor skull cap. It gives him a HUD and filters his voice. When he disconnects the helmet, the suit gets deactivated, so Miles only does this in his wheelchair. The movie version of the suit was slightly different. The top part of the mask used to be exposed, showing off Hawkins' hair, while he also wore an obvious trench coat, and this was before Spider-Man Noir was created. I didn't mind the movie look, but it was weird. Like, why would you want to cover up the suit? It'd be like if Iron Man put his suit over his armor. Because of Miles not trusting the city, he mainly worked alone, with exception to his assistants and Dr. Amy Ellis, a pathologist who was fascinated by the masked vigilante. Ellis ended up helping Mantis expose the city and how they were manipulating gangs in order to start causing riots and murders, giving the city the excuse to arrest and get rid of areas. She didn't go past the pilot. I think that was a mistake. They had good chemistry. Always liked Gina Torres. She had the knack of getting that mixture of serious and comedy down. She was kind of a copy of Diagnosis Murder Dr. Bentley. Maybe that was an issue. At the end of the movie, Mantis decided to work with her, giving her a contact radio. This forced the movie to be out of continuity from the series. The series takes place in Port Columbia, probably to give an excuse to location change since they moved filming to Canada from LA. Now, with Mantis taking so many ideas from other comics, Does it feel like a ripoff? I think it does an okay job in making it have its own identity. Miles, yes, he has a lot of Batman elements to him, but he's different from Bruce in a few ways. He's way more self-focused, and the Bruce character is a front to Batman. That's the identity. Bar Miles keeping his alter ego a secret, his personality is the same, which causes several problems for himself with his hate towards the corruption. He has a lot of resentment towards police, on top of them on the hunt to find out who he is. They don't know what to trust. Some crazy guy in a mask making people go stiff? When it transitioned to the series, most of the characters were removed. Miles' 2 assistants were dropped and replaced by John Stonebreak. Stonebreak is Miles' closest friend and business partner for his company and helped create the Mantis suit and car. John fills in for Miles' conscience because he loves to do stupid things. When they first tested out the suit, he went into a fight and the suit lost power like in a minute. There was no backup yet. With the new pilot, the corrupt police was headed by Solomon Box. He was the main focal point in twisting the city into that hellhole. Now, where does the Spider-Man influence come from? It hits Miles like a bike as Taylor Savage. Taylor is your regular day delivery guy, a bit doing it on his bike and being late. Drops off a package to Hawkins' house, annoys Miles for endlessly talking, and then catches John and Miles during their first outing as the Mantis. He, of course, calls them out for being unprepared, but he falls in love with the Mantis suit and wants to jump on board the team. Of course, everyone yells and wants him to go away, but he keeps coming back. Taylor's there to mainly piss off John. John is really stiff when it comes to certain things. He wants to protect Miles at all costs, but there are times he's so obsessed with his safety, it almost gets him killed. Taylor balances out John with a little bit of ridiculousness. He's also not bad at flying the car remotely, as well as helping Mantis out and getting info discreetly most of the time. Other times he gets caught. He begins being a real pain in the ass, but he becomes important to the team, although sometimes he does something that wants you to throw him out. There was this one episode where he thought it was a good idea to set up a Mantis hotline so he can get calls from people who need help. He's not totally stupid, the phone's isolated and can't be traced, but still, a Mantis helpline. It did help a few times, but it ended up attracting the police, which is where Amy's replacement comes in, Lieutenant Leora Maxwell. She's the main cop that's trying to bring the Mantis in, and also calls Dr. Hawkins to act as a scientific advisor for the police. That was a fun back and forth he had to deal with. Miles started liking her while she was out to stop Mantis. Not a big deal, right? The first half of the series was dealing with Mantis avoiding the police while he stopped gangs and other crap caused by Box, with a few episodes dealing with more supervillain stories like stopping this VR-controlled battle robot. The guy wanted revenge after his project got scrapped, with the mid-season finale break of Miles attempting to find out who was framing Mantis for a murder. What made this worse? Thanks to Taylor's stupid phone call system, Lieutenant Maxwell called in and Miles answered as the Mantis. His emotions are always high when it comes to what happened to him. With the cops seeing him as this horrible person, he lost his cool and directly threatened Maxwell. Because of that, she stopped giving him the benefit. So thanks to him being framed later, Miles was on the run from the police hunting him down for something he didn't do. He ended up being forced to tell Maxwell the truth. It was a really great reveal. She was angry, hated Miles for playing her, and it took multiple episodes to make up her mind whether she would rat him out or, go along with it. When I first saw this arc, I really thought she was going to do it. This was the last time the show felt real. Basically, what happened between the two halves of the series, the ratings weren't amazing, and Fox wanted things retooled again, so Mantis went into a more traditional superhero show. It wasn't a bad thing per se. The problem was it was abrupt. We just came off this high moment of Maxwell versus Hawkins. She decides to keep it a secret and reluctantly join them to start dealing with weirder enemies. One guy developed this drug to become super fast. Another was this guy who turned into electricity. They're not bad episodes, but it would be like you reading a Batman comic. He's fighting thugs, crime bosses, the Joker. Then all his enemies are switched over to Superman's villains like Parasite, Livewire, Metallo. It's jarring, especially with the series being very grounded. If they had gotten time to work this stuff in slower, it would have been better. They did start getting the fantasy elements to work, but the early episodes, they stumbled, especially the confusing parallel universe aliens. They were this very generic people who were able to travel through this gateway and studied humans, wanted to take control, these men in black. The idea was fine, but believing Mantis could take on these type of guys never felt right. They also erased their memories. They did bring them back a second time. It was a little bit better, but not enough. It was to set up something bigger in the future, but that didn't happen. If they had a second season, they might have been able to fix the tone shift problem. I personally liked the show in the first half. The second half was a hit and miss. The best episode that came out of the series was the time travel one. John and Miles were testing out this special cloak on the chrysalis, and it threw Mantis into the future. The future was extrapolated by the loss of Miles in the past. John couldn't keep the company afloat, so he sold off patents, which allowed another company to create this AI, which eventually took over the city as the Seeing Eye. It was a damn good episode, which showed off Taylor as a hero. He became the leader of the resistance, while Miles helped this future time stop the Seeing Eye. Mantis did return back to the past, or present, but took precautions to make sure that that future could not happen. Miles was keeping a journal through his missions as the Mantis, just in case if he was found out long after his death. I really think the show had a future, but with it being retooled by Fox to the point of the opening being rescored, I mean, they tried everything, but it being on the Fox station, it was never going to happen. I really enjoyed everyone. Carl Lumbly has his special way of acting. He's always good at being a leader, a fish out of water character. He'll fall on his face, but he'll admit he needed help. He always trusted Miles. The show did get an actual ending, but the ending was pretty crummy because it was rushed and they had no money. But it worked into the story they were telling, and it did stop that horrible future. To put it simply, Miles was testing out the chrysalis again. Its systems failed. He crash landed in the middle of nowhere. Some isolated guy in a cabin found him while everyone else headed to Miles' location. Everyone got involved in this one. The guest character for this episode was really good. So good, I wish there were more episodes with him. This is where it gets stupid. How do I even explain this? While Miles is trying to get out of the forest, this invisible dinosaur is hunting him. Yeah, an invisible dinosaur that got thawed out of a glacier. The guy in the cabin was hunting it for years. They gained a bond with each other to the point Miles took the suit off and trusted his secret with him. Everyone finally meets up with Miles. You'd think they're gonna get out of it. In order to stop the dinosaur, Miles gets one of the fuel cells from the car and rigs it. Maxwell confesses she loves him and decides to stay. The explosion kills the dino and the two of them. That's it. Stonebreak gives a great ending piece to the series where he completes the Mantis journal and buries the seed pod, along with the technology that would create the City Eye, stopping that future from ever happening. But that's all. I saw the ending as the writer's way of saying, if we can't get another season, Mantis needs to actually end. I'm pissed that he was killed off, but either way, there was no coming back. This started my long resentment towards Fox. It began with Mantis, followed by VR5, then Sliders, then Futurama, ending off with Firefly. I never trusted them again with anything science fiction. Mantis was a cool concept that really could only live in the 90s. Nowadays, everything would just feel even more generic, on top of the show having similarities to tons of things. It'll never come back, but it wasn't a bad thing. What's funny, usually Raimi gets his brother a role in his stuff. He played Joxer and Xena. In Mantis, he cameoed in the movie. Check it out if you found this interesting. It's hard to find on DVD in the US. It went out of print here, but Australia still has tons of copies. Thanks for checking out the video. Subscribe if you want to see more from me, and if you remember a movie or a show that's long been forgotten, good or bad, leave it as a suggestion below. I'm always on the lookout for obscured stuff.